With the new James Gunn movie Superman Legacy on the way, there's been a lot of discussion on who Superman actually is and what he represents. Some are clearly more deluded than others. While I believe some of us are on the same page, I like to explore some Superman stories that discuss his morality and see which one resonates with us the most. I clearly have my biases, but here is my description of who Superman actually is. Superman is a beacon of hope, the last survivor of Krypton, the Man of Steel, and with the power he has, he chooses to walk down a path of kindness and compassion, hoping others will follow. What happens when he can't find that compassion, that kindness? What happens when Superman encounters an evil incarnate? Does he make that choice? Let's find out. First, let's clear up one thing. This is Superman. This is not. While I can appreciate different takes, Clark is a Kansas boy with Midwestern values and a heart of gold. He takes no pride in his power, he is cautious with his choices and appearances, and that's why he always makes sure to smile when he can and make sure to not wear a mask. However, not every villain he fights is as lighthearted and benevolent as Mr. Mxyzptlk. What happens when Superman meets a bloodthirsty conqueror? What happens when Kal-El meets Zod? Now I know the common take on this film is that it's, well, bad, and I agree for the most part, but I think Snyder usually nails very specific moments. He's not great with writing, pacing, story, dialogue, or pretty much anything else. However, his moments out of context make you wonder if it could have been used in a different film. One of my favorite moments is Superman killing Zod. In this scene, Clark is trying to subdue Zod, but Zod recognizes that if he loses and becomes a captive of Clark, he might as well leave a wound from this battle. Now Clark sees what he's trying to do and makes a hard choice. To save a family of 3 is to kill 1. A leader does what needs to be done. This characterization of Superman reminds me a lot of King Arthur, a leader who wielded the awesome power of Excalibur but hated to use it, having to choose to let his people be ran over or slaughter the countrymen he shared the same land with. Arthur often wept for his fallen foes, just like Superman weeps for Zod, for they are kin, if only they chose another way. However, Snyder's interpretations of these DC characters are rarely accurate. While there are cool scenes out of context, let's get a more clear view of who Superman actually is. Let's look at a recent run that I really enjoyed, Superman Warworld. There are many great moments from this comic run, but I want to talk about a few that I think highlight who Superman is in the modern age. Here's the setup. An alien artifact comes crashing into the ocean and no one knows what it is, but everybody can tell it has immense energy. This causes Aquaman of Atlantis and the US Army to butt heads over who has rights to it. Most people would think Clark's involvement would have him backing America. After all, he's the Boy Scout. But no, Superman is anything but a Boy Scout. At first he tries having the armies back off and talk to one another. However, tensions rise and shots are fired. And instead of fighting this petty battle, Superman finds a way. Because there is always a way. He takes the artifact himself, knowing this will cause the least amount of pain, a very utilitarian approach. This is common for Supes. After some time, we learn this artifact is tied to Warworld, where Superman convinces some heroes, villains, and in-betweeners to help the enslaved fighters. As his power wanes for an unknown reason, he chooses to fight on a red sun-powered planet as a mortal to free gladiators without killing a single one. They call him the Unblooded Sword. How sick is that? This story is sweet, man. It's all so quintessential to who Superman actually is. You need to read it. However, let's get to this scene, spoilers, where Superman, after denying to kill, fighting like he still has powers and throwing himself to defend these kids, is put in a jail cell right next to them. This scene, he has him comforting them, asking them if they're okay. This kindness he shows them, it's new, you know? And the older girl is angry. She is pissed off because she thinks this is weakness. It's pathetic. They've been taught their whole lives that protecting others is weak. Superman gently corrects her, telling her the story of her people, how they were scientists, explorers, fighters for truth and justice, how all that she's learned from, Warworld is complete BS. And this inspirational moment, to me, is the biggest piece of Superman's philosophy. The way he acts, the way he leads, the way he moves, choosing not to kill, not to be cruel, in order to show another way, because there's always another way. This is who Superman is. Now, let's take it back. This is why people hate Man of Steel. It's a movie that barely tries to understand Superman. Like, it gets the suit, it gets the powers, it gets the punch laser eyes, but when it comes down to who that man actually is, Kal-El in this movie is so cold, and his parents are so cruel. Like, how are you going to punish a man for simply being a douchebag in a bar by destroying his livelihood? Do you know he's not going to have a job for the whole year now? His kids can't eat. Also, how is Superman not going to be able to save his dad from a tornado? He's not Spider-Man. His parents don't die. They stay alive for a good reason. And in the movie, when Superman kills Zod, he didn't try another way. He's non-emotive. He doesn't empathize. It's only up until he chooses death that he's finally allowed to cry. He's allowed to grieve. It's such a cold and impassionate Superman. If I was this family seeing all of this happen, I would be terrified of him. This guy just flew into the building and snapped this dude's neck instead of just flying right back up. Superman is supposed to think of creative solutions. In the comics, Zod is usually the first person Superman cleverly puts in the Phantom Zone as an alien jail, allowing him to learn from his mistakes rather than taking his life away. Because there's always another way. But what if there isn't? Darkseid is the ultimate capitalist who profits from pain extracted from the captured innocent on Apokolips, his home world where he's a god. Superman hates Darkseid for the exact reason why he needs to kill him. Darkseid is what happens when a godlike being burns a path of fear and hate into the world, leaving his people weakened and without willpower. A similar mission he has to help Warworld. Superman wants to bring that same hope to Apokolips. In Superman the Animated Series, he goes on a lengthy battle and defeats Darkseid. Superman first gives Darkseid to his people, hoping they can do what needs to be done and he can retain his morality.
Darkseid is finished. Do with him as you will. You're free.
Master.
Let me help you, Master. Gently. Be careful.
But his people choose to protect Darkseid, clinging on to his way, not knowing of another path, of Superman's. In JLU, Superman then figures he has to kill him. Darkseid is a man who's tortured thousands of children, leaving them to grow up in a hellscape, and he wants to bring that same bullshit to Earth.
Superman! Go! I'm finishing this! Kent, don't be a fool. Get out of here! Now!
But Batman imposes morality on Supes, robbing him of that, knowing that if Superman killed him, everybody in the universe would be that much more free as Superman, and Clark would be one step closer to Darkseid. Superman is many things, but he isn't a killer. He can fly, shoot laser beams, and leap tall buildings in a single bound. However, his greatest power is his kindness. His ability to make people feel loved, optimistic, and warm is unparalleled. In this life, you can create many paths, but it is never a bad choice to try and leave behind a kind one. Before I leave you all with recommendations, let me know what sort of morality do you think Superman has or should have? Is he utilitarian? Does he weigh all the options and make that hard choice when it comes to it? Or is he more of a black and white thinker and doesn't cross certain lines? Let me know what you think, and here are some good books I'd recommend. Superman is one of my favorite characters, and honestly, I still have a lot to read. I mentioned picking up Superman Warworld, and you can start that at Action Comics 1030s. Also, check out Superman Batman World's Finest, and Superman Birthright by Mark Waid to see what James Gunn is planning in the DCU. Appreciate y'all watching. Peace.